The one thing I really want to nail right now is the Word of Faith movement. The Word of Faith movement is composed of three things, right? Pentecostalism, the Faith Cure movement, and New Thought. When I got out of these beliefs, when I got out of these beliefs, the first place that I saw all these beliefs were the church. And I'm like, wait, how is this happening? The same scriptures, the same exact words, the same exact methods and teachings are in the church. What is happening? I didn't realize at the time that I hadn't come out of New Age, that I had come out of New Thought. Even I didn't realize that. And so I'm labeled as an ex-New Ager, and I'm okay with that. But still to this day, people will message me and they're like, man, what do you think of this? I'm like, I've never even heard of that before. What is that? And it's like this really popular New Age thing that people are doing. And I had no idea what Reiki was. I had no idea that yoga would be considered New Age. There was just this whole other realm that I had never even heard of. I'm like, what did I come out of then? Like, what is this? And it took me a long time to learn, oh, there's a difference here. Okay. And so the reason why and what I was seeing was the Word of Faith movement. Hypercharismania is what some people might call it, hypercharismatic, where you're decreeing and you're declaring the prosperity gospel. Oh, and this is really important. In the early New Thought stages, when it was developing, I can't even say it was developing, just whenever it was, became popular. One of the main teachings is that God never wants you to be sick and God never wants you to be poor. Sounds familiar because it's been adopted over, kind of like put over into the Word of Faith movement, but also that your words have power just like God. So what you speak and what you believe, you will receive. These are things that are the same thing. Like they're taught exactly the same way within Word of Faith and in New Thought. Same method as well. And the reason why is that, and there's a whole history behind this, but a lot of New Thought teachings have been adopted into Word of Faith. So let me name some names here. Kenneth Copeland is a huge one. Joel Osteen is probably the biggest example I could use of Word of Faith and New Thought. In fact, his dad was really good friends with a Unity minister. And if you don't know what Unity is, that is a New Thought church. And so that made sense to me. I'm like, oh, I get it now. I understand why Joel Osteen sounds like a New Thoughter, because like the positive thinking, he's very controversial in that way because Unity ministers love Joel Osteen. And other ministers in these New Thought churches look up to him as like, oh, I'm so glad for Joel Osteen. He's teaching these things. So there's that. You have Bethel Church in general, Bill Johnson, Chris Valentin. They'll probably be the one that I'll name as adopting both New Thought and New Age. They think the issue with them is that they take everything that they would consider inauthentic in the New Age, okay, like crystal energies, channeling. Like think of literally any New Age thing you could think of, tarot cards. Oh, well, there must be an authentic version of this. And you know what? God, he would never let you be deceived. So we need to welcome all of these things because this is what God wants for us. And we need to find the authentic. And I just think that's wildly unbiblical and very, very unwise. And so you have all these teachers that are very popular. These aren't just like, oh, dying out. No, like they have millions of followers. Millions of people follow these people and listen to them. So these are things to be aware of. That's just one aspect of how it's in the church. I think that's one of the main aspects of how it's in the church is that just that general belief of ask, speak, believe. Your thoughts become things. Your words will create things because in the Word of Faith, they believe that once you're born again, you have creative power like God has. And in essence, they have what's called the little gods doctrine. They wouldn't overtly teach this anymore, though Kenneth Copeland was the biggest proponent of this. But it's that what God can do, basically, you can do too, because you're a little version of him. And so it follows that, yeah, you should be able to heal. You should be able to control the weather. You should be able to not be poor. The essence of the prosperity gospel hinges on these things. And so what I'm arguing is that, oh, this is actually a lot more New Thought than what people realize and contributes to these teachings, and we need to be careful of them.